talk for a minute about some things that have gone on because, wow, have some things gone on, right? So, the Democrats folded, right? That's number one. 8 of them. The interesting thing is that none of the 8 are up for re-election. So the talk of the town is that they were kind of set up as fall guys so that the Democrats who are up for re-election don't have to look bad. So 2 of them are like retiring, and the rest of them are not up for re-election in 2026. I don't have proof of this, but that's the chit chat. The big group that we have that organizes a lot of the protests that you see, No King's Day, Hands Off, all of this, the biggest movement in American history so far as at least numbers, has announced today that they are primarying the Democrats who are kind of do-nothing Democrats, is what they say. Is this a good idea? Some people think. So they're only going to do it in districts where it's kind of an only blue district. We're not going to lose the seat. We just want to say Schumer's district is, it's New York, so it's pretty blue. So we're not going to lose it to a red seat. So what they're going to do is run someone strong against him in the primaries. That's what being primaried means. And that is also the goal of David Hodge, H-O-G-G. He was the vice chair of the Democratic National, the DNC, who they then fired because he went on his own thing. So this man, he's very young, and he is a survivor of a school shooting, one that Marjorie Taylor Greene says didn't happen, by the way. He's been involved in politics, and his idea is the exact same thing, is primary, which means it's now like a verb, I guess. I'm not really good at those things. He's going to do primary all of the, he has an organization, the same thing, the Democrats in blue seats, not all of them, it's not a thing to just erase who we have. Senator Warren is a badass, she's incredible. So we're not trying to get rid of her. So people that are like Schumer, who aren't doing anything to fight for us, okay? This is a great thing. So I think that we all need to get a little more involved. Hey, what's up? A little more, yeah. So we need to get a little more involved than we used to be. I used to just vote. For whomever was the Democrat. I didn't really think much about it. And now I've come to understand that a lot of Democrats receive the same lobbyist money as the Republicans. So this is a new thing. So if you've been following New York, Mamdani, he is a great example of a new type of Democrat. He's a democratic socialist, but he's still a Democrat. And this is the type of person who could win anywhere, I think, because he's not really blue and he's not really red. He's for the working class, and his message is very consistent. It's affordability, and that's it. He's not getting into the social issues. He doesn't play partisan. And so if you guys have any questions about politics, please let me know and I'll cover it. So this is what we're looking for. So what we need for you to do, this video is about what are concrete things you can do now to help the movement. An easy one. So is when elections are coming up, pay attention to who's go to your primary, first of all. Pay attention to who is on the ballot. If you're in a state that doesn't allow you to vote in primaries unless you're a registered party and you are registered as nothing or an independent and you want to be involved, there's nothing wrong with registering as a Democrat if you are one, or if you lean that way, just so you can get involved in the primary. I really encourage people to get involved in the primaries. right now there's a lot of things going on in politics that you could start with. So one of the things that's really important that I don't think a lot of people know is how important it is to politicians is to call them, email them, message them. If you just Google their name, all their contact information comes up. There's also a Senate switchboard number. I can post it for you. And there's also something called 5 calls. And if you tell them your issue, if you have the app, they will call everyone for you. So you can call your senators about whatever issues you think are pertinent. Right now, the issues of the day, right, is Epstein files. We want them released. And if you're in a blue district, it's one thing, but if this is one of those times where if you're in a red district, you have something interesting that you can do, and that is like try to put them on, like hold them accountable to say where they stand, because it's really important to get them on record as to whether or not they believe these women. Do they believe women? Do they stand with a pedophile? It's coming out that very clearly there is no more evidence to me. Like if this were anyone else but a president who's immune, we would have convicted them by now. So we have convicted them of various things. So get your, call your red senators and ask them, and Congress in general, and ask them to tell you where they stand about why they won't vote to release the Epstein files, and what they are, where they stand. Do they believe them? Are they standing, say if it comes out that Trump is in the Epstein files, where do you stand? These are some important things, because if we get them to say, I don't believe it, it's fake news, and this all comes out, they're done for the most part, and I hope to God that they do come out and say that they stand, with these women. It is not red versus blue. And I just think that there are blue states. I live in a blue state. But I think that what we need to focus on is something that is, like, Mamdani is not red or blue. He won a lot of Trump voters. So we need to focus, it isn't red or blue, because we need to focus on the idea that this whole system wasn't set up for us. Us being anyone who are the have-nots. And if you are watching me and you're not Bezos, you are the have-not, no matter how well off, even if you drive a Beamer or whatever it is. And why are Beamers such mean drivers? I'll tell you. But anyway, so we need to think of it as working class versus ruling class, right? Does that sound correct? So things you can do: call your senators. You can call them about redistricting. If you believe in redistricting, which I do, I live in a state that can do it, and they're kind of at war over it. I think it's something we need to do. Trump is actively working to suppress the vote. He is trying to get rid of mail-in votes. He is trying to have, slanted voter laws. Our elections are extremely safe. They are the one solid thing in America. I have worked for them in a swing state. So this would be the state, if you were going to steal an election, to work in. I have worked in Pennsylvania as the head of the elections, and I can tell you they are solid. So anyone who's saying we need to do this, this, and this is most likely trying to suppress the vote, not protect it. So look closely at voter laws, right? Mail-in ballots are safe, okay? They cannot be duplicated. You only get one. They are great, actually. They are records. They are records that we have. So these are things like, this is why redistricting is important. This is a part of voter suppression. What he did in Texas was voter suppression. He demanded that they redistrict. Now, California did something similar, but they asked the people, and overwhelmingly, Californians said, yes, let's redistrict. It's different. So So these are things you can do. You call about redistricting. There's a whole bunch of things you can call about. You can call about healthcare and ask them where they stand, because right now everyone is blase blah, not doing much in Congress, and come election time, I bet a lot of them are going to have opinions. So let's get them on record as to why. Why did you cave? Why did we, why did you cave if you had the Democrats? Why did you not fight harder for us? If you have a red senators, then, like I said, ask them to put it on record how they feel about the Epstein files. If they are voting, which they all are, against against releasing them, ask them why. Because these things need to be said, written, and in public, okay? Also, if you are in a blue state, or you have blue senators, purple state, blue, red, you have blue senators, ask them to call for a new leader. If there is a way in the Senate for us to switch from Schumer to someone else that is actually leading the party in the right direction. So if you call and ask for Schumer to be, someone to replace Schumer, ask your senator to stand up and say, I would like Schumer. They have to say Schumer or the Senate minority leader to be replaced, okay? What happened with the shutdown was effing disaster, and this is not how it had to go. We were doing great, and this was him, okay? So a new leader would, if people ask, is this showing weakness? No, this is showing power. This is showing how much power is behind the Democratic Party, not the leadership, right? Because there are people who believe in democratic ideals. What are democratic ideals? We believe in social programs that help people build up. We believe in working for the middle class. Are these people doing that? I don't know. It depends on which senator you have. I am in my car. Yeah, it's a great spot to make videos and chat. And it's got a nice little holder for my phone. I'm in an area where there's a lot of commuters. I'm near DC. So, I drive a lot with my phone up to read. So I am parked, if you're worried about safety here for the other drivers or me. So we have, call your senators. Sorry, I didn't mean to give you the middle finger. We have, pay attention to primaries and be ready. If you're registered as an independent, think about, in a state that does not allow independents to vote, think about moving to the Democrats if you usually lean that way. I'm not trying to tell you how to vote or anything like that, but if you're mostly in the blue side, if you like progressives, if you want to get more progressives in, if you want to have some influence in the elections, if you're not allowed to vote in primaries, then you're not allowed to have any influence. So I'm not asking you to change your political affiliation from independent, but I'm asking you, if you're interested in moving the needle, then let's move the needle, right? Epstein files, let's get them on record. It's being used as a political issue, and should it or shouldn't it, I don't know. But if our president is in this, if our president is in these files and was engaged in these acts, okay, which they're not minors, they're kids, and this is not even violence or unconsensual, this is rape. Let's use real words, right? And if our president is in there, then we need to know it, okay? So they should not be ruling. Prince Andrew lost everything because of just pieces of this coming out. So I think that we need to know what's in there, okay? I'm not saying what's in there, and I don't care. I am a Democrat, but I don't care if it takes down my favorite Democrat, if it takes down Obama. I'm not saying it is, don't think it is, but if it takes down Clinton, and there's going to be people that surprise us that are in there, but we need to know if our leaders are criminals, that you wouldn't leave alone with your daughter, right? Like that should be a simple bar, like, would I trust this person around my daughter, right? This is important. Um, so keep pressing for this. Watch for protests. I don't know if you've ever considered going to a protest, if you're concerned, if you're worried about the safety. I recommend going to large ones that are permitted. Um, like in big cities, that kind of thing. Um, so, but those have impact. All right. And if you're wondering, like, how do you know that, Lindsay, that they have impact, right? Well, here's how I know. They are actively trying to suppress and beat up protesters in certain states. So, yeah, they matter. It's the only thing I believe in, really. Like, I believe it's the only catalyst for actual change for people that are not the haves. We always have to fight in this country for what we have and what we need. The working class, the all of us. So civil rights movement, women's rights movement, gay rights movement. These are the only things that have actually changed our country for the good. And so that's why I'm saying protests work. So if you hear about them, if you want, you'll hear about them from me if you follow me. But keep an eye out for all of this in the news and start looking for bias and what they're trying to tell you versus, and not saying, versus what they are. Because a lot of the news media, and I know this sounds conspiracious, but it's not, a lot of them are kind of pandering to Trump. They either are directly doing so or they are indirectly by not wanting to rock the boat. So watch what they say. Like this Megyn Kelly person just said that it doesn't really count, the Epstein files, because it was young, it was older girls, 13, 14, 15, versus children that are 8. So it's okay to rape 14, 15-year-olds. They're still underage and it's still rape. So we need, I know people don't like to hear the word, but it's interesting because we also don't like to convict rapists. So you'd think if we hated this so much, why aren't we using, here's a good thought, why aren't we using the largest private army, third largest private army in the world to catch rapists and murderers if we're so against crime and against these things, right? We have ICE out there catching immigrants who are working in the fields to pull tomatoes, and we can't catch a criminal. So think about that. Just think about that. No matter, like, if you think that immigration, that people who are here should be deported that don't have their papers, that's fine. But they need to go through a process that proves that through the courts, and it needs to be done in a way that doesn't violate human rights. America is being put on human watch things, because human rights watch things, because of the violent, unnecessary and illegal way that people, and the thing is that what's happening with this is, sorry, you guys are getting my ADD-ness in news. The thing that's happening with the deportation is they're also catching, in the meantime, a lot of politicians and arresting them that are opposing them, which is out of the dictator's playbook, right? It's right out of it. The politician who was protesting outside of ICE, I'm not sure of her name, is being prosecuted for assault. This is Russia. This is exactly what Putin does, arrest his opponents. Don't take it for anything else, don't get it twisted. This is really happening. And this is how it happens. Dictatorships are not all of a sudden, this one Armageddon day where you wake up and you're oppressed and the Berlin Wall has been put up. That's not typical. It happens gradually at first. You don't notice it. It's hurting the vulnerable people and not you. in certain places it was minorities, in other places it was Jewish people, and ours is the immigrants. But it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, it does matter who it is, but they pick on a vulnerable minority and place all your problems on them first. That's what's happening. That's what happened in Germany. That's what happened in, every single dictatorship. In the Philippines, it was drug addicts. They had a large problem with drug addicts, so they blamed all of the social issues on drug addicts and started just executing them. Duterte. So I'm saying, I think that we need to pay attention to the signs that are out there. All right. I follow people, follow your congressmen and other ones that are speaking out on the news. Jasmine Crockett is an amazing person to follow. I follow all the governors. I follow. I try to follow the opposition, the side that I don't agree with, but that's very hard for me. So I want you to pay attention to the news and dissect it a little and look into it. It sucks that you have to look into the news now, but that's what we have to do. So look into it and look for bias. I am definitely biased. I hope that you understand that. I am leaning blue. I hope that that's clear. I am not news. News should be non-biased. Sometimes it's almost impossible nowadays to find non-biased news. So you can find news that it should not have emotion, slant or slanting words. Bias has opinions, right? And if you can't find unbiased, and I can't even, I don't even know. So try to find, there are organizations that rate the bias of each news outlet. But if you can't find them, then just go to a couple. Try a few different ones to make sure your news is accurate. And then form your own opinion. And don't be afraid to speak out. When I decide that I am for something, I'm for redistricting in my state, and I don't know if anyone even, some people agree with me, but there's one person that is opposing it. I'm on his page and I am putting his phone number in there every day, basically trolling him and saying call and call about this issue, call about redistricting, So and make sure you're voting. 33% of people, and I don't know, if you guys are the people out there, but 33% of people in our democracy did not vote. So Trump does not have a majority, by the way, of the population. Far from it. But, it seems I don't agree with politics, and so I stay home, is what I hear the most. I've been door knocking, phone banking my whole life, my whole adult life. So I've heard it. But your voice is never going to be heard if you don't vote. And the thing is, So there are certain populations that do not vote, a lot. They are the least likely to vote. Someone who is lower income is less likely to vote, and young people are less likely to vote. So those groups have the least power. The candidates and the people who represent us are going to represent who voted for them. It is not as corrupt as you think. It is only corrupt because people are not involved, right? So if all of a sudden all the young people voted tomorrow, whatever your issues are, which I'm not going to say I know, but I would guess that it has to do with the idea that they're offering 50-year mortgages. Did everyone hear about the 50-year mortgage? They're offering things like that instead of actual affordability for you in your life. We are the first generation, about mine and down, first generation that does not have promise. We will not have a better life in general than our parents. Why is that? Because power has been usurped to the top slowly over time. So these issues would all be talked about if all of a sudden young voters would vote. I've worked in politics my whole life. I promise you, they know who voted. They know your age. So if all of a sudden young voters voted, there would be talk about student loan forgiveness and programs to go to school for free and whatever issues you said were important would be talked about. Why do they talk about old people things? Because old people vote. Okay? Old people vote by like the largest margin, like 66% or 80, I don't know. It's at least 66, I think. But you know who else votes? Rich people vote. So a lot of people idolize rich people. If you want to know what they do, they vote for themselves because they know it works, okay? Why do rich people get to be more rich? Because they're big on voting, okay? So rich people vote, older people vote. That's who's voting. So if young people voted, working class people were the main voting bloc, we could start a massive movement. This would happen like instantly. The same with calling your senators. One call, now this is like a statistic from a long time ago, and this is from when people actually like made phone calls. So nowadays when people don't even make phone calls, like we could actually, I'm sure that the number is higher, but one phone call to a representative, senator, whatever, is considered to them about the same as 700 other voters, meaning that if you were to take the effort of making a phone call, they're thinking that, wow, this is a big issue. 700 people probably feel about the same way. So if 10,000 people across the country call, or so you get my point. But you have to call your own constituents. Not constituents, you have to call your own representatives. I don't love this, I wish I could call Schumer, but your own senators are beholden to you because you voted for them, or you could, and you can vote them out. So they must do your interest, and they are worried about you. So you got to call your own. If you don't know them, you can look it up. It's not hard. Politics can be fun. It can be sexy. There are fun people out there that are captivating and interesting. Listen to Mandami, listen to Jasmine Crockett, AOC. These people, they are awesome. So we just have to get more of them and less of the other people, right? Like you should not go into office as, a normal, average, middle-class person and come out a millionaire like Schumer, right? That's not how politics is supposed to work. Let's get rid of gifts and lobbying, and campaign finance reform. These are things that could change the country, which would change the world. So these are my things. I'll reiterate them right now. I want you to call your state or local representatives with your issues. Mine are redistricting, Epstein files, especially if you have red senators, or your senators if they were the deflectors. Is it deflect or deflect? Deflectors in the shutdown, and if they so those are my issues right now that I think should be called about. But call about whatever. If you're like the cost is a good thing. Call about cost. So I want you to call about cost. I want you to register for blue if you lean blue to be in the primaries. You would have to re-register if you're in a state where you can only vote in the primaries if you're in your own political party. Not all states are like this. You can call your board of elections and find out and get re-registered so that you can vote in 2026. That's when the voting starts, but things move fast, so make sure you're registered, voting. If you have any questions, please say them in the comments. I'm pretty well versed on voting laws, politics, etc. Watch out for your news and watch out for voter suppression laws that are skewed, right? Their language sounds good at first. Oh, we're going to protect the vote. Our elections are secure. We have paper ballots. We have, the elections are secure as is. So if they want to make any changes, other than there are already suppression issues happening. So the owner of there was a regular company that owned the voting computers. They have been bought by a very right-wing group. I think it's the Heritage Group, one of those groups. So watch out for that. That is something that Democrats might go after for, just legality issues, like what are they safe at this moment. But just watch what news you're consuming. Make phone calls about anything that affects your life right now. Call them every week, you know. Make sure it's yours. Do it local. Do it, do it with the House and the Senate. Put them on record. Let's call for the stepping down of Schumer. We want a new leader now, not whenever the elections happen, but we want a new leader right now. And then, of course, let's keep calling about your health bills. Like, have you guys' health bills gone up? Tell me about it. I know 2 people who have so far. So, the ACA is for the people, and a lot of people's bills just doubled. So if you call about the ACA and tell them that you want it restored to its original subsidies. The government a subsidy is not a gift, okay? A subsidy is, the government is supposed to work for you. So don't let some politicians convince you that it shouldn't, okay? The government is supposed to work for you, not them. So, and protect you, not them. And them being politicians, them being corporations. A lot of times we're protecting corporations over our people. So it's there to protect you. Subsidies are there to protect you. They should be regulating these insurance companies for the cost anyway. We wouldn't have to have subsidies, but that's a whole other story. But so keep calling. Call about your food price. Call about tariffs. Call those So ways to call them, just Google it. Their phone numbers are there. There's 5 Calls, which is an app. There's also the Senate switchboard, which if you ask me, I'll look it up again. And there's one for the House. But get involved and come out to a protest when they show up, okay? All right, thank you so much for listening. Let me know what topics you want to hear about next time. I tried to keep this to 30 minutes. So thanks for those who tuned in. Hopefully more will in the future. Thank you.